All right. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com, also founder of Red Dog Mindset. We are here. It is Tuesday. How you doing? Uh, you know what? I kind of, Tuesdays are that day where it's like Monday, you come in, you're like raring to go. You just had the weekend. And then Tuesday, you're like, what's happening here? Well, anyway, spies are up like 10 handles. We still have an inside range in the spies and the Qs. Yesterday, they sold the strength after a big move out on a long week. And, you always look back and it's like, why? That made so much sense. Why didn't I just trim my longs into the open and fade a little bit, make some money short, and then see what we do? Sometimes we overcomplicate it, don't we? But anyway, let me share my screen so I can get some of these charts up so we can take a look here and see what's up. Okay, so here's a chart of the spies, and all in all, you can't be upset about the action. I know last week a lot of people had a really good week, including me, probably one of my best weeks in a long time. And now here we are. The question I have really is, are we going to hold this 533, build an inside range, and then potentially take out this descending trend line, and open the door for a move back towards like the 200-day. Yesterday I was doing the spaces with a bunch of guys. Actually a bunch of youngins, not really youngin, but it was cool, different set of people, and everyone had different thoughts. But all in all, you take a look here because you want to see how you want to navigate. Let's make it a little bit bigger here. And I say, okay, didn't it make some sense? Everyone I know is all excited from the weekend, but from 481 to all these higher lows into resistance with still a lot of problems. There are a lot of problems out there. There's still, going to be some some ramifications of all this back and forth with the tariffs, all this back and forth with China, all this back and forth with Europe, with Mexico, with Canada, with guidance, etc. You name it, there'll be some, there's going to be some ramifications. So anyway, so why would we be breaking above this resistance, the first kiss? So yesterday was a pretty good fade for some of you guys. I talked about would Apple, hold 208.50, would NVIDIA get above 115. Everything I said has to happen to hold and go didn't happen. So I think a lot of people were able to trim, get a little short, and now we'll see, do we go inside? If you look here at the spies are up 89 cents. So first day that they're really constricting some volatility as the VIX fell. So here we are at 539, kind of no man's land, right? We're below 544. That's $5 below yesterday's high and about $5 above here. So, it's kind of, up or down small. If you look at the Qs are very similar. The Qs, have a little inside action here, right? You have, 452. This was resistance. Decent move off the lows. And, the oscillator's was like minus 110. It's only minus 20. And there's really not a whole lot of exciting things going on out there, the guidance is kind of getting pulled. And when you're oversold and you pull guidance, you can go up. But as you continue to go up and get less oversold, you pull guidance, you're going to get hurt, or things aren't going to be able to do that. There are some stocks that are acting better than others. To me, what you see during a corrective phase is when, just like the market was down 21% off the highs, once you bounce, you see, you change your go-to list. Certain names move up the list, certain names move down the list, and your focus from 40 names, the A, B, and C list goes, differently. So for me, there's not that many A plays out there, or A setups. Like, Palantir still looks good, but again, from the size of the move that it had, it was hard to sustain. So I'm still long this. But again, it was up 5-6 points yesterday, and although they had a good contract with NASA, it was just hard for it to run away by itself. Like nobody's in a rush to sit in some of these names, no matter how well they're doing. But anyway, if you are long some Palantir overnight, it's up $1.60, it's up 1.7%. You trim some and hold some. Now we see if this builds goes sideways and wants to get better. A lot of things were sell yesterday. Like I said, Apple was a sell, right? I said, will it hold 208.42 or not? And fill this gap. What did it do? It gapped above, and people made a lot of money shorting it yesterday. If you were long it from Friday when it showed relative strength, you're able to sell it into the news that it would be excluded from the tariffs and then readjust. So now, this kind of changed. This doesn't really matter anymore. That 216 didn't happen. It went to 212.94. So what I do is I I change my points of reference, and I kind of just move on. So now we'll see, does Apple hold above 201.16 and build another pattern, and then can you scalp the setup? Like right now, what do we say, 201 something or other? So you put that in there every day. It's like, work in progress. I do my charts, I do my work, I have my iced coffee. I'm 20 at 520 in my ice barrel. Have to get in the routine, get my mind right, and trying to make sure I don't do extra things and I make as much money as I can, etc. As far as Alpha Team, everyone's doing what they got to do. Trying to figure out how to make money. We're all communicating. If you feel like you're trading alone, you should be a member of the Alpha Team or Redler All Access. Like we try and navigate this and keep our sanity. It's very easy to lose your sanity in this insane world. So you want to control what you can control. But anyway, this is 201.16. This gap is now gone. So that's unnecessary. And I could probably even come like this so we could see what's building here. And everything looks kind of the same. Yesterday, how did I lose money? I kind of thought Amazon was going to play catch up, and Amazon was a piece of junk yesterday. I'm sorry. Well, but then you look at it like, it's just still in this range. But if this were to break to the downside, probably not good for tech. What did you have? You had a broken bounce. All these things just had a broken bounce. So how did you play it? Every day, it's just really about the setup. And if the setup's not good, just don't do it. For Amazon, Amazon's got to hold this 179-ish now. If it doesn't hold 179-ish, this ascending channel could break to the downside. If it hangs in here, and rebuilds and goes sideways, maybe there is this upper wedge and it could get better, but it's hard to tell. A lot of this is hard to tell now. We're entering earnings season. Like JP Morgan, had a nice move right back smack into the middle of the range, did a little red dog reversal, yesterday, and the pattern's not great. Goldman Sachs, look where it is. So some people I missed everything. Like, what'd you really miss? You missed last week. Last week there were some good setups. It's only April 15th. Things are rebuilding. Life's trying to be figured out here. Apple today, you got to take advantage of what's in front of you. Apple right now is down 7 cents. There's not a lot of pre-market action right now. Things are settling in. Netflix is coming out with numbers on Thursday. This is interesting. It's holding in here. It's getting tight. If someone's like, Red Dog, are you going to play Netflix? I'm not going to play. Last earnings season, I really feel like I played 10 earnings plays and 8 of them didn't work. 2 of them worked really well. 8 of them did. I think I'm going to, really not do too much on this earnings season and just trade it afterwards because, you risk $5,000 to make 20 or you risk 10 to make 40. And it's like, it's the stress of it just doesn't work. And I just don't think this market's set up for any kind of moves like that. So anyway, but if you needed to do something, you could do a 950 by 9, by 1,000 call spread, risk something to make something. But anyway, I'm not taking a Netflix call spread, just not doing it this time. Someone's like, what happened to Boeing? Boeing, what's it called? I think something came out with China that Boeing is not going to order Chinese planes. So I guess we're moving on from electronics to planes. Whereas Boeing right now, so that's kind of ratchets it up a little bit. Boeing is, down 3.5%, 153.60. Again, it just had a move. Boeing just did a red dog reversal down here. So again, the trade was a nice one down here, right? Red dog reversal at the lows, came up. Then what else was a good setup here? It wound up clearing this spot on that Wednesday to fill this gap. So, this was your kind of broken bounce, just like everything else. And then this low here is what, 157.60? So 157.60, it's below that doji. So I guess if you're looking at this today, what support, I would say 149-ish. But again, it's just another piece of this tariff puzzle. There's a lot of pieces of this puzzle. So again, you want to make sure if you make your money with a really good setup, you're not giving it back in the noise. This kind of is a pretty noisy spot. Once again, if you go back to the SPYs, it's like, You had your oversold bounce. Hopefully, if you put some money to work in your blood in the street account like I did, I put 50% in. This bounce isn't enough to sell some. Can you get another move here? Like it's like that's what we're playing it for. It's not that interesting. Anyway, let's see what some of the dogs around the world are saying. Here we go. You could be on YouTube. You could be on Twitter. You could say hello. You got no plans for you. Hood is also good. Yeah, Hood. I told you yesterday moved up the food chain, moved up the go-to list. So that's fine. Yes, IBIT. I have a lot of money in Bitcoin right now. It's one of the setups that I think could be a focus, but we'll get to that. I could do that. Meta was kind of like Amazon yesterday, pretty weak. Someone say, Scott, the Doug G short finally started to play out. That's cool. So I have a bunch of guys that play stocks that are scams that go to zero. If you remember this, I actually lost money short. This goes to show you how like you could know something or think you know something and still have to handle it. Remember this FTEL? I said, do not buy FTEL. That's a zero. Well, this FTEL, it's funny how everyone was like, look at this. I'm like, guys, my friends say it's going to zero. It went to 66 cents and, still was, you can make money. So someone just said DOGZ. That was the other scam that they said. And, this also is probably going to like $3 or less. So again, charts are great, but you don't get fooled. You have to do some fundamental homework. But, that's a whole different game. You have no control. You have no control when it's going to zero. So you better be able to have margin and all that kind of stuff. That's a whole different game. But again, I've been doing this for 25 years, so I know people on all sides of every market. So you're saying, what about IBIT? Bitcoin looks better. Like it looks like, it's trying to break its downtrend. Mister's trying to act better. GME's trying to act better. I'm in a bunch of calls for Friday and next Friday. If you want to look at Bitcoin itself, it's trying to get above this 85,000, right? It's up a little bit here. Bitcoin hasn't had much power in a while, but it looks like that's an inflection point. There is a potential money trade here. So if you want, go out maybe a month, go out 2 weeks, buy a lot of options if that's what you do, or buy a lot of Bitcoin or not. But it's right there. Like this is getting close. And a lot of people made a lot of money with gold. A lot of people made a lot of money with gold miners. So, this really, everyone's like, but Bitcoin is out of Bitcoin went to 108,000. So Bitcoin had that move. So Bitcoin made a high here December 17th. What was gold doing on December 17th? December 17th. In December 7th. Where's December? Like so gold wasn't making highs here. And obviously Bitcoin was, so that gold took the baton, and look what gold just did, which was absolutely crazy and awesome for a lot of people. So this Bitcoin, which is supposed to be, gold on steroids, right? The digital gold, which I do think it still is, is in a spot where it makes some sense to focus on it a little bit more. So I'm in 3 different sets of IBIT calls, and I'd love to see it work out. I could use a nice money trade. What does MLD say? Short term, I'm bullish. Long term, bearish. Very long term, bullish. There you go. So he's trying to say short term, which I do agree. Short term, because sometimes you have to fool a lot of people, to get them bullish so they could distribute stocks. So short term, MLD is kind of saying, so it's my boy MLD. I know him for a long time, and he's good at what he does. He says, short term, I'm bullish. Long term, I'm bearish. Very long term, I'm bullish. That makes a lot of sense. So that goes with my whole oops, what the hell just happened here? That goes with my whole seven account theory. So short term, if we hold 533, right? Hold 533, maybe there's a chance that we could take out 544, 547, and see 554, or maybe even the 200-day. That's short term. That might happen in the next week and a half. Short term. Then he's saying, then he thinks that earnings season is going to be not great. The tariff war is not going away, and guidance is going to be bad. And chances are we might see him move back to 481. So that's like after the short term, and then long term. You know what? The bull market will win. It's just a matter of, does it take 2 years to get back to all-time highs, or 3 years, or 6 months, or 9 months? So you want to put money in every single month in a 401k and a 529, or have a blood in the street account like I do and put 50% in. So all these different accounts can work for you if you put the time, the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears. Red Dog. Yeah, I understand. You and me were here. Mags from Ardsley. MAGS. Is that a ticker you want me to look at? Mags. What is that? Oh, that's it's just got a lower wedge. I haven't looked at. I don't think I've looked at this. This broke to the downside there, right? And then, but it made it slow like everything else, kind of like that FNGU. And now it's going sideways. It maybe wants to retest a 200-day. Just like the same way you come to it, you bounce off it, then you break it. Sometimes it gets back to it. Someone said Meta. Meta was not a great candle yesterday. I guess there's a lot of FTC news, a lot of EU news, this and that. Meta doesn't look like anything so special. I remember all those up days in a row, and then it broke right here and broke the 8 day. That was at 725. What's up, Joe? Thoughts on Bull? Bull? What's that? Wow, look at that. Geez Louise. What's it doing this morning? I don't know. It's one of those crazy names. There are people that make a living trading these crazy names. I don't really do that. I actually like to have an arsenal, like to have, continuity and not just go for the crazies. But there are people that do that. Baba had a good day yesterday. Bob had a better day because everyone said that Trump was going to delist the ADRs and have bad rhetoric against China. Instead, it did the opposite. I had a frustrating day yesterday. I'll be honest. I was in a lot of BABA for a week or two, and I kind of said to myself, I'm going to get out of it because if they delist it, I don't want to be involved. And then yesterday that happened. And then I also had a lot of SPY calls, and they sucked out all the premium. So it was one of those days for Red Dog where I was like, all right, it's Monday. I had a weekend. I'm just going to readjust and not let it affect my week and not go on tilt and get my mind right. That's why I created Red Dog Mindset, because I've been trading for 25 years. I've seen traders come and go because they don't have the right mindset. They don't know how to balance themselves out. They don't know how to get their day and win their morning. So, that's what the subscribe button's for. But anyway, yeah, it was kind of tough. I was right and wrong. You ever do that? Like sometimes you win and you really lose. What was that movie? White Men Can't Jump, or something like that. Yesterday I left for Friday for Pittsburgh to go to an AU tournament with my son. And I went long calls for Friday and for, Monday from the SPYs. And the SPYs went up 20 points and I made peanuts. I should have just bought the SPYs, put a stop in and did what, or went in the money. Anyways, that was me. What about you? It happens. I'm over it. Anyway, with that being said, Spotify. Okay, let's take a look at that. I think that's moved up a lot of people's food chain. Spotify, everyone's, on all these podcasts. I should be on a few podcasts also. It's getting tight. This is something to watch. If the market's going to get better, it seems like this could go to the upside. This definitely is stronger than other names. It's more set up. It's got a hold, just say 537 if you long it. So this is how Red Dog kind of frames things in his Redler All Access note and with the Alpha team. So, I come up with I do a note every day. I come up with like 40 different charts. So this is how I would do it. It's not rocket science. You guys could probably all do it yourself. It all depends on how much risk you want to take. I would say, Spotify is holding in better than most names. You have a pocket pivot. Some are long versus 537, meaning you're in small using a tier system versus 537. If the market were to get better, if it wants a leader, it's got to get above and stay above 577. And then all of a sudden, maybe it has leadership qualities to get back towards there. But obviously, you need a strong market for that. You need a different type of tape. And if that can't happen, chances are, it's either going to hang in here or break 537. So Tappan says, yes, same hindsight as 2020. Thought Friday we finished strong, so stayed long, but okay, so Tappan managed it well. Good for you. Some of us, that's why you got to look back and say, what did I do wrong? I wanted to be really long Friday into Monday, and I didn't make as much as I should have. But Wednesday was a great day. So we'll see what happens today. What's BABA doing right now? Well, we just looked at it. It's down 20 cents. So I guess see if BABA could digest above this gap. This gap starts at 111.70. If BABA stays above 111.70, maybe it starts a new active sequence to the upside after a really good move. A lot of us made a lot of money in BABA, during this active sequence all the way up to 148 where it failed, and now we'll see, does it get better again? All right, guys, 651. I wouldn't overtrade the day today. Again, we might have an inside day in the SPYs. So 533 is active support. In the Qs, it's very similar. The Qs, you have 452. Do we go sideways for another push, or do we roll back down? All you know is some, yesterday's low to see if it holds or not. Uber is doing fine. Tesla's a pain in the butt. It's little 3-day range really near the lows. It's not acting special. It couldn't even get above 262 and couldn't get back to Wednesday's highs. Some things got back to Wednesday's highs. Elon is still kind of up in the air, being kind of stretched between, is he staying with the administration? Does the world hate him because he's making tough decisions or not? I'm not going to get into it. All I know is that Tesla is still vulnerable. If you're long it, I would put your stop in at 239. If you think it's going to get better, it's got to get above and stay above 262. And as of right now, Tesla's up, down 40 cents, not doing a whole lot. So we're in a little bit of a consolidation phase as we head into earnings season, and that makes sense after the amount of volatility we just had. So take it in stride, my dogs. I'm going to go hang out with the alpha team. I'm going to do about 40 charts and figure out if we could rub some shekels together and make some money. I appreciate you for tuning in. Be well.